All right, here we go. We are live. What's up, guys? It's the Experienced Optimist, and I'm back with Mgtow Universe, the man, the myth, the legend. How you been doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing all right. I can't complain. I
Awesome.
saw your last video that you made about responding to that woman about what she asked you again.
So basically, she was saying that society will not allow MGTOWs to exist in a nutshell, and would it get so bad to where the powers that be start locking us up, or even worse, killing us off? It's basically a thought experiment. But I thought she was dead serious. I told her I don't think it'll get that serious, but so in terms of society, MGTOWs are not good for society because men dropping out brings the system to a halt. So I understand where she was coming from with the question. I don't think it gets to that point to where we have to eliminate MGTOWs.
See, here's the thing. Maybe it brings this system to a halt, but doesn't it open up a new system?
For men, yes. Well, does it open up a new system? For the context of society, I don't know. I don't know.
See, this is what I was thinking. I was thinking if you're a guy who understands that you can get trapped in relationships, get trapped looking for other people to validate you as a human being, if you just focus on the things that you want to do, can't you, for example, neuroscience, can't you become like one of the best neuroscientists and then contribute more to society?
Yes. That's true, but then I look at it like, if you're in terms of society, I think it's about, I don't know, creating more taxpayers, maybe. I did think about like what would the world look like if Sir Isaac Newton had to pay, if he had to work like a regular job to pay off child support? Like, what would the world look like? I don't know. I mean, I do see what you're saying, but we can't assume. Well, we only need one more Sir Isaac Newton or another Tesla to make like a huge breakthrough to change everything. I don't know. That's a hard one. But I do see what you're saying. Just the law of averages. If men don't have to pay child support, or if they don't have to opportunity costs, they don't have to worry about that because they're not raising a kid or having a wife. Then you have to have more time to do things that they want, and that does help society. I just don't know if, in terms of output, that's better than the current model. In terms of creating more taxpayers, creating more people, more workers, and so on and so forth, like that.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, the current model where basically men slave away, I don't know. I think it's becoming kind of archaic. I met so many men who said if they had to do it all over again, they wouldn't get married, they wouldn't have kids, or maybe they would have kids. Like one guy told me, he said he wouldn't get married, but he would have kids. So he would continue to work, be a project manager, do all that type of stuff. So he would still have that tax base there. So I'm wondering if we could just shift it a little bit to where you focus on something that could really benefit society, but you just don't go all in and become a slave on the plantation that we have now. You know what I
mean? Well, it depends on what country, the guy you're talking about, it depends on what country he lives in, what state he lives in. Because if he's with that woman for a while, there could be common law marriage or de facto marriage. So it wouldn't make a difference if he had a wedding or not. It could still be considered married by the state. If he still had a kid, there's still that cost. I don't know. Can we create a society that benefits everyone by focusing on men? That's basically the question that we're asking.
Yeah.
Is that possible? Has that been a standard before? Some would argue that before the women's rights movement. I don't want to say a women's rights movement, but before, I guess, first wave. No, let's just second wave feminists. Before second wave feminists, is that what our society looked like? That focused on men and it benefited society. Was that where we're at? I don't know enough by history. Would you say so?
What, before second wave? If men were what?
So it was society running efficiently by focusing on men before second wave feminism?
Yeah, I don't think so, man. Because I think, like you said before, the problem is that men are disposable. No one cares about men, right? And even in that patriarchal society that we had before, even in the Caribbean, it's still there. It doesn't seem to work very well, I think. There are a lot of guys I found in the patriarchal society. They may be dumb as dirt, but because they're in a rich family or something like that, they have more influence over what happens in society. And their society may be a crappy society to live in. And the guys that are on the bottom of the barrel, they may be the smartest guys, but because the dumb rich guy feels that he's inferior, the society doesn't move forward.
Let me play devil's advocate. Is there society being not caring about men and men being thrown into the meat blender? Is that what's best? Is that the best model for how society is ran?
See, I never thought that was the case. I always thought if you bring up men to really contribute to society, as far as what gifts do you have? I mean, are you good at science? Are you good at building? It's a mixture of things. I think that if men can focus on multiple areas of life and give back to society, I think society will be better. If you allow men to just go out there and go to war all the time and just get killed, I think society suffers.
But wouldn't you say that men paying child support, men paying for divorce settlements, men dying for their country is a contribution to that society?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I see what you're saying. I mean, but
I agree. Yeah, I definitely agree.
They're contributing. It seems small compared to what they could be doing, but I don't know. I mean,
Super G brought up a good point. Just like you've been saying this the whole time. It said men don't care about men as a whole, and I think that's a huge problem. I think that's at the base of the issue that we have. If men just left men alone and they could build and contribute to society the way they see fit, I think society would be better off.
This has always been the case. Male sacrifice for a greater good has always been a very personal investment. Yep. Nothing moves without men investing, whether physically or more materially. Yeah, I agree with that. Let me shift the focus a little bit, because this is something that I've been thinking a lot about lately.
What's that?
I thought about making a video about it. So I made a video about Cypher and his point of view on wanting to escape the quote-unquote real world and going back to the Matrix. In the Matrix universe, are the machines evil?
Yeah, I think I remember I watched your video about that. The machine's evil.
Oh, you're breaking up.
Am I breaking up? What about
Yeah.
now? Let me see.
You're fine now, but I'm hearing like some interference in the background a little bit.
Really? Hold on.
Okay.
What about now?
Okay, it's gone.
Okay, yeah, it's the fan. All right.
All right, so yeah, is the source evil?
The thing that keeps all the men enslaved is what you're talking about, right?
I'm sorry? Say that again.
The thing that keeps the men, everyone enslaved.
Yes.
Is it evil?
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was, the reason why the robots came to power or whatever, right? Because human beings, they created AI. The problem was that human beings couldn't get along. And human beings, like I was talking about, instead of creating a better society, everyone was fighting each other. The robots took over and then enslaved human beings. So I think, in a sense, the robots are bad. Because I think human beings have to learn to be.
Uh-oh. You disappeared again.
Again? Really? Hold on.
Okay, now you find out. It's like you're in and out.
Man, what is going on? All right, let me adjust my mic. Yeah, I think that I think creating a matrix keeps everyone enslaved. I think that's very good at all. I think if I believe that man can create a system in which everyone works together and everyone's more collaborative. But you said that it wasn't good or bad, right? If I remember correctly.
Well, the way it's portrayed in the films is that the machines are evil for enslaving the humans, but then it goes back to, well, humans or machines in that model are working with each other. They are being collaborative. And are you really a slave if you're asleep in the matrix?
Yeah, if you don't know that you're a slave, basically.
Right. And aren't the machines just replicating what the humans are doing? They're using the opposite for their benefit to get things done, where humans created machines to do automation, and in turn, machines are using humans as a battery source, and to create and for them to have the highest fidelity possible of being that battery source. They created an operating system for them to exist in. Isn't it just the same thing? Only from machines, from the humans' point of view, like the machines are bad and humans are being enslaved. Are they really? Because at the end of the day, humans are escaping the matrix, and they're a pest. They're a thorn in the machine's ass by going in there and they're yanking. They're taking people out of the matrix. And they're just taking steps to preserve themselves.
The way I was looking at it when I was watching The Matrix, I was thinking, okay, so when you're in the Matrix and you realize that you're a slave and machines are using you, and then you break out of the Matrix and you're on your own, you're not a slave anymore. I was thinking this would be a perfect time for human beings to build a society that was better than the society that they had before, right? When they made the robots and the robots took over. Using how the robots enslaved them as a base, human beings can now evolve to a better place.
But you see, the humans, super great is going in. The one, even us as Mgtow, is doing just the same, excluding ourselves from the chaos of ordinary society. That's true. But the only thing that the humans know in the Matrix universe is what the machines have told them.
Yeah.
They don't know, like us looking out from the outside looking in, they know, well, we know that they know that their history is accurate, but they don't know that. All of it could have been made up, just like the narrative of the Matrix. It could have all been a lie, just to give humans hope, to give them purpose. Kind of like it's kind of like this is why Reloaded is my favorite one, because it explains everything. Kind of like when the architect was explaining to Neo in that white room that the reason why we let the humans live and we reboot the system every single time the anomaly emerges itself is so it gives people hope. They believe in love, they believe in prophecies, they believe in oracles and stuff like that. And in the end, while it's a different system than what we would imagine, it's actually better because it creates more efficiency for us. When people have hope, they're better battery sources, even though we end up killing a lot of them.
Yeah, I would agree there because human beings seem to thrive on hope. They will. I believe that too, because human beings tend to, instead of bettering themselves, as long as they have hope, they'll just stay in the same quagmire that they're used to. And you know what? I see that with a lot of guys, to be honest. I was going to make a video called like Addicted to Failure, where it seems like a lot of men, they don't want to grow, man, and they use relationships and hardships to keep them where they're at. You know what I mean?
You want to know who else is addicted to failure?
What's that?
Scientists.
How so?
Because, well, at least I've read that a lot of scientists, like, the journey is more important than a destination. So trying to come up with like a cure for cancer, you inadvertently come up with other inventions on your quest to doing that. So it's kind of like, what's a good example of this? I can't think of one off the top of my head, but it's kind of like perfection is not they hate it, or rather, getting it right is what it's fine. But now they have to have a new problem that they have to solve, or if they have to come up with one. It's kind of like if you dedicate your life to solving a problem and you solve that problem, where do you go from there?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. You know, it's funny. I interviewed a physicist some time ago, and he was talking about that. He said all scientists are haters. He's like, that's how science works. It's like when you're looking for that solution that you're talking about. Mm-hmm. A lot of scientists will try to, prove you wrong, so that they look better than you. So then I see what you're saying. So you get caught in a cycle of trying to, okay, let's say you do discover the cure for cancer, right? Isn't it just the same as the average man? You discover the cure for cancer, you no longer have that purpose. But isn't what Mgtow teaches just to go out and find something else that drives you?
Yes, but you have to be driven to go find. You have to be driven to go find something, though.
I think that's all part of self-actualization, right? Always.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Do you think that most men have that or no?
Yes, but just for things that society has told them that they should, and that's the normal. Men will go work themselves into the ground to get a family, and even though they know the numbers, they know the stats, they know the case studies, they will do it anyways because they believe that they can beat the odds. That gives them a sense of purpose. Sometimes I think that the divorce rate being the way it is, the family court, the laws the way it is. I think it even what's the word I'm looking for? It even gives men more purpose to even do that. Even if I lose once, I have to be financially stable. I have to be confident in myself to be able to do it again because I have to succeed at this. For whatever reason, people have their motivations, but I think it's because the shame, they're trying to replicate what mom and dad is doing or what grandma and grandpa is doing. And damn it, I can't think of the word, but it gives them even more purpose in life. And there's no talking them off the ledge. Even if they do get divorced and they get destroyed in court, they just do it again and again and again and again and again. They can't help themselves.
That's why.
And maybe not to cut you off, but maybe Mgtow is just a distraction. They see Mgtow as a distraction to veer them off that course. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Well, what do you think about the guys? And I talked about this in one of the videos I made. The brotherhood of failure. Why are there so many guys, quote unquote, red pill guys, that are trying to keep men in that mind frame that you talk about? Keep men
Um,
trying to get married, staying on that hamster wheel.
I don't know what their motivations are, but everyone knows that if men drop out, the dance is coming to an end. And a new standard has to be created by force. A standard that, as far as I know, I'm not a history buff or anything. As far as I know, that no society has faced before. So, I mean, we war gamed this out before in our talks in the past, where if men just drop out, what are governments going to do? Because you can't force men to take care of another woman. You're just going to have an uprising on the hand. Can you pay men to be with a woman? I mean, maybe that'll work. Maybe not. Are they going to reverse the laws? No, not as long as women vote, in my opinion. So how are you going to solve that problem when more and more men are going to drop out? One solution could be to try to chop the head off the snake, is to deem Mgtow as terrorists, which is what I also said in the last video, is that the powers to be has to do something. They can't just sit back and do nothing while Mgtow grows. No way.
But wait
something
a minute,
has to be done.
Won't it still work, right? Because I pay taxes, you pay taxes, women work now, right? So they can take care of themselves. So is it really that big of a problem?
So the question, if you're the powers that be, you have to ask yourself, can our society run on women's labor, the labor of women by itself? That's the question you have to ask yourself. And that would be a better question for BGS or someone else that's in geopolitics. I have no idea. I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No.
I mean, because I see, like, right, you have the call center. I mean, wherever women work, right, they can. Even in engineering now, I see a lot more women. So,
well, as far as
nursing, right, doctors, women can be doctors, lawyers. A lot of women are becoming, lawyers now. So they can take care of themselves pretty much, right?
Yeah, they can take care of themselves, but for the society, can it work? Remember, automation, the automation collapse hasn't happened. No, not automation.
Yeah.
The collapse of manual labor and being replaced by automation, that's around the corner. Yep. So you're talking about all those call center jobs, that's maybe 20 years tops. I don't see it happen. But again, I guess that would be a better question for BJs. I don't think so. Also, women would have to pay the majority of the taxes, if not all of them. They're not going for that. You think since they're the majority of voters, you think they're not going to try to vote that out or try to reshift that to men? No.
I don't know. I was listening to Thinking Man Templar's video, and he was talking about how in warehouses now you saw more women, moving boxes. They didn't look happy. And I hear what you're saying, because now I don't know if it's that robot that builds a house all by itself. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, once automation comes into play, I don't know, man. I still think women at this point can take care of themselves. So alimony and all that stuff doesn't really matter.
Unless they're taking care of themselves by way of alimony or child support.
Yeah, that's the problem.
And that's a lot. So what is child support? 50 billion or so last time I looked. And alimony is another 50 billion or so. So that's a lot of jobs. That's a lot of women. And women don't STEM so well. So even then, when automation takes over the majority of manual labor jobs, it's just, I suspect that women will still be absent from those jobs.
You know what I would like to see? I would like to see, basically, because you're never going to get rid of those men who just want to jump into the meat grinder. I would like to see, like, Mgtow men still focus on self-actualization, be self-sufficient, and then just go move to places around the world to where they can live a good life away from the plantation. I think that's the best thing that can happen right now.
Is that possible?
I think so. I think, like, look at yourself, for example. Mm-hmm. What if you started on, like, an online business and, like, moved to Italy? You'd be good to go, right?
Yeah, but the laws of Italy could always change for the worse, so they not have to relocate again.
That's true. but you'd probably be dead by then.
Maybe. I mean, like I said, societies can't ignore men from that. Like, you have to have taxpayers being born. You have to have workers being born. That's what keeps the system going. You have to. Because if it's men like me that's living in Italy, then we'll just say, fuck it. We'll move somewhere else if our business is, if we could just do our business from anywhere on the planet. I'd be like, well, screw this. I'm going somewhere else. I'm not dealing with that. I'll convert my US dollars to wherever, go to like a poor country, build up a house there, and in the end, if it needs to be. But I don't know. I don't think MGTOWs or Mgtow monks rather is just, I don't know. I don't know if a country is able to leave men alone.
Yeah, Von Cher said, he said that women can't survive on their own. Yeah, that's true. Oh, yeah, there's plenty of countries you could probably move to where, they can leave you alone. I'm from the Caribbean, so I know right now you can move over there, set up a nice place, out by the beach somewhere, a little bit away from the beach. You can live a nice life where they won't mess with you. Not like America, anyways.
Right.
I heard Spain's like that too.
I heard that Spain is
parts of Spain
that you want to be.
Parts of Spain. Parts of Spain. Let me say that. But yeah, man, I don't know, man. I think that's the only way. I think if you're a Mgtow man staying in America, I don't think it's a very good idea.
I'm just interested in what steps that they're going to take, because Mgtow cannot be ignored.
That's funny, man. Like, you saw like how it changed, right? Everyone was laughing at Mgtow, but now they're starting to take Mgtow serious. I still don't think they can force men to give money and take care of women. I don't see that happening.
Super Greditor says, think of monasteries. Well, that might work. Again, assuming that governments leave them alone.
Oh, the men?
Yeah. Like, it got to be left alone for it work. Like the moment governments get this idea, like, we need more men, keep this thing going, and they start looking, well, now what? That's extreme. That's extreme, but it's going to get extreme.
I think even if it does get extreme, I'll be dead by that time.
You think so?
Yeah. Because I'm thinking about me myself. I'm thinking about the reason why I haven't been making so many videos is I'm trying to get the hell out of America. That's my next step. And awesome. Once I get out of America, I'm just gonna be chilling, doing my own thing. So I think a lot of Mgtow men, I think that's the only way right now.
I do think that's a great model. Yeah, absolutely. And it is, men, governments coming after men is extreme. But yeah, if you want, if you just want to get out of the country, absolutely. Because now, yes means yes. 10 years ago would have been something to laugh at, and here we are today.
Dude, what do you think about that? Isn't that crazy, man? Like the yes means. What was another one? There's another one besides yes means yes, because you talked about this before. Something else not recently.
Constant consent or something like that.
What was it? It was basically blame the guy for everything. Basically, it came down to what was it? Anyway, I can't remember. But the yes means yes thing. Do you ever think that's going to go away?
No.
You think it's here to stay?
No, because millennial women are not going to vote that out. I mean, you're talking about the little girls now being raised up into thinking that's normal. And who am I to say what's normal or not? But they're going to be conditioned to think that's normal. And why would they vote that out if they think that's normal?
I couldn't believe women coming out of their families like, my girl, man, Elijah Dushku. I never thought she, came out feminist. And then, what's her name? She was
Say
like,
that again.
oh,
You're breaking up. Say that again.
Elijah Dushku, you know her, right?
Yeah, from Dollhouse.
Yeah, and now she came out feminist. And I was just thinking about like these other women. There's this one that was
well, how's she look right now?
She still looks decent.
Because she was one of the baddest women on the planet like 15 years ago.
Yeah, she still looks decent, but it's just crazy, man. Like all these women that you thought basically using sex to get ahead in their careers, and now they're coming out as feminists. It's so crazy.
Wow.
You remember the Elijah Dushku thing? Like she was sexually harassed on the set of a TV show.
Hold on, I'm sorry. You broke up again. Say that again.
Man, what is going on with my mic? Hold on. Is that better?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Elijah Dushku, do you hear about like what happened with her where she claimed sexual harassment on the TV show she was working on?
No, I haven't heard of it, but I'm not surprised.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that surprised me, man. Like, just like we were saying, like the yes means yes thing. A lot of these women coming out, you know, saying that, you know, they're sexual harassed and feminism is the right way. I'm like, and you don't think that's ever going to stop. Okay, well, what about the Mgtow women coming out, right? The Mgtow thoughts, basically. They're coming out and saying that, yeah, we understand Mgtow, you know, we like you guys, whatever. What do you think about those women?
Even though that those women may believe what they're saying, it's just another system within the system. Another ploy to get men back. In my opinion, it's another ploy to get men back into the plantation, even if they don't realize it. It's just, why would I believe them? What benefit would it for any man, in my opinion, to believe them? People can always change. There's the laws, of course. And even if there wasn't any laws, like for me, I'm still asking, like, what is the purpose of me doing this relationship/kid thing? Like, opportunity cost is very important to me in this. Computers or women will never be, for me, will never be just as interesting as computers for me. So for me, it's just, I hear you talking, but I don't believe you. And I had this discussion with a woman about 2 weeks ago. She was saying, like, I understand everything. And I had to tell her, you know, please do not take this personally, because women will take it personally. Well, please do not take this personally, but I believe you believe it, but if a man is a thinking man, he should not believe you, because the cost is too high just to believe you.
Well, I tell you what. Now, you've done this before, but men just don't seem to get it. Break down those opportunity costs.
So, assuming that if you have hobbies and interests outside of relationships. So, for example, myself, matter of fact, right now I'm refreshing up on my mathematics, starting from Algebra 2, which is basically going back over real numbers and irrational numbers and stuff like that, and refreshing up on C++ to the C++ standards, 17 standard. If I had a girlfriend and or a child, then that's more time that's time that I'll have away from those interests. And those things require a lot of time if I want to get them done relatively soon. So, you know, women love attention. Kids need a lot of attention. So everything else gets pushed to the back burner. Maybe you won't even revisit it ever again. That's what I mean by opportunity cost. It's just things that you really have interest in. You just don't have time to do them because you are taking care of a girlfriend or a wife, a girlfriend and or a wife, and kids. Yeah, you know how guys do. Yeah. So you just don't have time.
But doesn't it benefit society more if you focus on C++? Then you start a company. Now you employ 2 to 3 employees, and then you pay more taxes. So doesn't it benefit society that you focus on that as opposed to having a wife and kids?
It's a question of a utility. Again, if we really wanted to break down the math, we would have to know economics and game theory and all the other stuff. I don't know. Using my common sense, I want to say yes, but then the question is it more is it more beneficial in terms of society? Is it more beneficial for that man to have a child and get married and getting a divorce and paid child support, as opposed to learning math, leveling up his math and learning programming languages, starting up a company that may succeed? Is it, which one's more beneficial in terms of society? I don't know. That's a great question. Like, I should ask that question to BGS and let him break it down, because I'm not really into economics like that. But as far as like what's has a higher expectation, that's a great question. I have no idea.
Okay, so what if we had a society in which all the young men coming up, we said, all right, we're going to give you the tools to where you each can start your own company and employ at least 5 people. Wouldn't society be better if we set it up that way?
I would say yes if automation wasn't part of the equation.
Yeah, that automation is a killer, man.
It is. I think that we will have to. Society will have to get to that point. I don't think it'll be for men though. It'll be for women.
You think so?
Yeah, because the women, they graduate more, and women get money thrown at them. And again, who really gives a shit about men besides themselves? So yeah, when that day comes, I think that'll be those opportunities will be given to women as opposed to men. But if it was given to men, I do think so. But again, is it more beneficial than, keeping the family court and divorce court judges and keeping them having jobs and stuff like that? Who knows?
In Italy, aren't they changing the alimony laws and child support laws?
I have no idea about Italy, but I mean, if they are changing it for the better, in terms of better for men, then I would be extremely surprised by that.
Yeah, I'm not sure on the specifics. It was on Coach Greg Adams' channel. He was talking about it. He said they're making more in Italy, but I have to do some research on it. But the men finally looking at other men as not being disposable. I think we as Mgtow men don't do that, and I think it really benefits men. Do you ever think, that we'll get to a point to where other men are not disposable?
See, we war gamed this in our discussion before.
I know,
and I still don't know.
You haven't changed. That was a while ago.
Yeah, I like I said before, like, we're talking about in terms of war, you kind of need men to protect the country, because you can't depend on women. So you have to give incentives for men to do that. Even if you give them incentives, you still need cops. So I don't think so. I do want to give men a choice if they want to be disposable. If that's the way if that's just a choice that they have for themselves, instead of them, drafts. I know we haven't had a draft in almost 50 years or so, but still, it could still happen. World War III or whatever. But in terms of like the family court and stuff like that, yeah, I would love to see that eradicated. But I don't think it'll happen. I don't think that's realistic. Not because our country can't survive without it. It's just that there's too much money into it, and too many jobs that's on the line, and too many women that's being supported by men getting destroyed in court.
Yeah, but I think there are a lot of women are delusional right now. I think a lot of women think that they can do everything themselves. I think that's what's going to spur on the change with Mgtow. It's going to cause Mgtow to grow more and more. I think it might come a time where there's enough Mgtow men that the system changes. Because remember, the last time I asked you this, Mgtow hadn't grown to this size, remember? So now it's on the news, everyone's talking about it. So I think there's going to be a positive change in the future, but you sound skeptical.
So when the media, first of all, when the media talks about Mgtow, it's always going to be negative. Now, why are we assuming? Now, I do think that in the end it's going to be positive, but in the short term, I don't think it's going to be positive. I don't. As Patrice O'Neill would say, it's kind of like medicine. Like Mgtow is kind of like medicine. You know, when you first have it, it's really nasty. Your face turns into knots. You don't want it again, but it's good for you. And I think that's how men are when it comes to like the red pill and Mgtow. It's like, okay, leave that alone. But then over time, you keep getting these red pills, keep getting them, keep getting them. Then it doesn't bother you, and then you look forward to it. I think it's the same thing for society where Mgtow would be a bad taste in their mouth. We got to get rid of these guys. What can we do to get rid of these guys, or rather lessen the numbers of Mgtow? And then over time, because they can't argue, they can't make counterpoints to the arguments. I still have yet to see that. Then it becomes, how can we work with these guys, or rather, how can we get these guys to work with women and make compromises? Everyone needs to make compromises. Of course, that's just another attempt to get men to come back to the plantation. We'll make these concessions. And we'll see what we can go from there for the better of society and the betterment of families and so on and so forth. You have all of these obstacles that Mgtow veterans, they can see miles coming away. But you got the young men that listen to Mgtows, maybe they're swayed. Certainly if you have a sexually attractive woman, like say of Eliza Dushku, or who's hot these days. Jennifer, what's the name?
Jennifer Lawrence?
Yeah, like say if you had like a Jennifer Lawrence come out and say like, we apologize, men, we've treated you so wrong, and she turns her back on feminists. I don't know if she is or not, but I'm just saying. Then that could sway men. It's just so many obstacles. I don't know, but that's after initial. Mgtows are terrorists. Who knows? Mgtows need to be locked up in constant. That's after all of that. But I don't know.
Oh, speaking of that, there's a guy. He created a mirror for all the Mgtow channels. What is that, guys? I want to give him a shout out, man, because he has like everybody on there. He has you, Black Ram, John Nada, Sandman, everybody. And I've never seen men come together as far as like this Mgtow thing. I never seen men come together like that. So do you think this whole Mgtow movement is going to create a shift in consciousness where men can actually get along and not fight each other all the time?
Yeah, because before I say that, because there's have been infighting with Mgtows a lot.
Yeah, I was going to get to that.
But it's usually over stupid petty stuff. It's not over, you should go out and be disposable and stuff like that. So yeah, I do. Absolutely. I mean, if you're looking out for yourself and you don't really care about the drama, then absolutely. I don't see why not.
Oh yeah, Super G. Yeah, we know about the women being a chameleon. Yeah, we know about that. He said something about that. But let's talk about the infighting. Now, to me, it seems like there's a group of men that are kind of steering men in the wrong way. They're talking about being red pill. They're talking about being alpha, but they're setting up the information that they give in such a way to where they're monetizing it and charging men for this advice. So I want to ask you what you thought about that.
Hey man, it's all part of the game, man. It's men been doing that from the beginning. They were doing that back in 2012, but they weren't around that. They weren't that many. But it is what it is, man. It's just, hey, if you can get someone to pay for it, then go for it. But at the same time, that's not my motivation on why I do this. I do not. I hear SFM right now. I'm not gaslighting. But I do think that the message of Mgtow and self-actualization and being selfish does save men life. But as far as like men, charging other men and red pillars versus Mgtow and all the other stuff, it is what it is.
Yeah, Yeah, what's funny about that? Okay, when I first started Mgtow, you're what does it say? No, don't get married, no kids, no cohabitation, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I was first thinking about Mgtow, I was like, man, yeah, that's pretty cool. But then as you progress, you learn about self-actualization and growing as a man. And I never expected it to be like this. Like I would have to learn more stuff. I have to dig deeper than I did before. Has that affected you as well? Have you learned like more about yourself in these last, I don't know, like 10 years you've been at Mgtow?
Absolutely. I keep coming across like new questions to ask myself. Like I said recently, are the machines evil? Why do we think the people that are doing the killing evil? Just because we're on the wrong side of the coin. And I started exploring that. Cypher was the first step. Now it's the source is the second. It's just different ways of looking at things. And I do think I know that the Mgtow way of thinking has led me down that path. And I love it because, you start asking yourself different questions. You start coming with different answers. You may even, who knows, you may come up with something new that no one has ever thought of before. And that could grow into whatever. It's just different ways of thinking about the same thing.
Yeah, I remember you were talking about Cypher in your video. You're like, well, is he necessarily a bad guy for wanting to go back to Matrix and he doesn't know that he's a slave or whatever? I mean, you're not thinking about going back in the Matrix, are you?
Or no. When I was asking that question in the movie, of course he has to be a homicidal maniac. That's what they always do. Just like Killmonger, when they start talking about some real shit, they gotta make them a killer always. So they're not sympathetic. It's just a pattern I see in Hollywood. But Cypher was a person that he escaped the Matrix and he lived in a real world, and he was like, "This is some bullshit," because I can live better even as a slave, because he was aware that he was a slave. Even as a slave, I'm living better in the Matrix than I ever could out here, because outside of the Matrix, like what is the advantage? You can't grow your own food. You don't have livestock to hunt. You have to constantly keep running away from machines. Outside of the Matrix, and when you go in the Matrix, you have to run away from agents. So why do I think, why do I think my expected value is higher in the real world as opposed to being in the Matrix? And that's a very good question to ask. Now, because those were his only two options. Like, he can't live on his own because, well, you can't grow your own food and there's no livestock. So if you leave Zion, you're done.
Yeah.
You just can't do it by yourself. Yeah. And a lot of people, a lot of men, messaged me and emailed me and said, that's a great perspective I've never thought of before. So why do we think he's evil? If we take out the killing,
so
why do we think
he
that
was
he's
selling lollipops or something like that, right? If he was selling lollipops, is he wrong? I see what you're saying.
Right. So yeah, I mean, if I was in that universe, I'd probably want to go back into the Matrix too. Honestly,
really.
If I had to if I didn't have to deal with that agent and kill people, then that's a different story. But if I was given a choice, live outside the Matrix or go back in, I would go back in. Okay, because living outside is just it's a dead end.
I mean, that's a good point. So then, what if some? So what if Elijah Dushku, like Jessica Alba, but Elijah Dushku comes to you in her dollhouse goodness, and she's like, "I will love you forever. I'll give you kids. You'll have your own C+ consulting firm, and you'll live the great life for the rest of your life." Would you opt for that life?
Is this before or after I leave the Matrix?
This is after you leave the Matrix. This is your full Mgtow, self-actualized, but you got nothing.
Well, if I already left the Matrix and I know better, then I know better. But if she's there if the machines created her to send her there to try to get me back, for starters, I have to trust the machines on their word that they won't kill me the first sight they see me. That adds a different narrative. And we have no reason to think that machines lie. Like machines, if I remember correctly, it's been a while since I've seen Reloaded, but the machines have never lied throughout that entire franchise. Not that I could think of off the top of my head. So I have no reason to distrust her. But then again, this is my life. Mm-hmm. They don't need to send her to try to convince me, because I already know what my two options are, and I know which one's the better option. Now, here's a better question. Could we be Mgtow in the Matrix universe?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Because you're not going to be Mgtow in Zion. You better believe that. That is not happening.
Oh, man, yeah. That's a good question, man. I'm going to have to think about that one.
Because when the machines are coming, you better get your ass in one of those when the machines start shooting. You don't have a choice.
But there's no need for Mgtow, right? Because women, would there really be a lot of hypergamy? Wouldn't they be on their best behavior? And you wouldn't necessarily seek appreciation from the community, because the community would automatically appreciate you as a man, right? Like, I mean,
we're assuming that, but the council, I don't know. Like the council, to me, the council believed in Morpheus's idea of a prophecy of the one. So I would say probably the council that believes in that probably don't have men's. I don't know. That's speculation, but I would probably speculate that probably not. They probably don't appreciate men like they should if they believe in. That's just me.
Some of them believed in it, but some of them didn't. But it didn't seem like men were really that disposable in that universe, because remember, the women were out there trying to load that rocket launcher, and they're trying to fight as well. So because
they had to.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they wanted to.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody, so, you remember what the general said? He said if he had a choice, it would be every man, woman, and child out there with a gun.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing. Like, isn't that how it's supposed to be? See, like,
in Zion is such a small community versus the power of the Machine City. Yes, I could say that, but it's wartime in that universe. It's not peacetime.
Exactly.
See, we're in peacetime.
But that's the thing. Like, you remember we were talking about last time? Like, I said that I would have loved, like, men would be warriors and then women would be like assassins. If I ruled the kingdom back in the day, I think.
And I'll ask you the same question I'm actually back then. Who's gonna sit back and have the babies? Because you can't have mommy and daddy dying.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I'm like more kamikaze, because I'm thinking, look, they're gonna kill you anyway. Like, the women that survive, you're just gonna get raped and whatever anyway. So you might as well just like go out with a bang. Like, there's no point in like sitting back and getting raped and becoming a slave for some horde guys.
But you're thinking like a guy, and you're applying to women. Like, women, in my opinion, would be like, well, as long as I don't die, then it's not. It's bad, but it's not as bad as dying. So of course that's why you had like these war brides in the past. You had like these women that become concubines and they become sex slaves. So, like, women would just fold.
Oh, I agree. But if you build up a woman, I think women like to believe lies. So if you get some older women and some really influential men, and you tell them that it's to be the best woman you have to be like the best assassin and learn how to poison people and do all that stuff, I think women will buy it.
They would, if you indoctrinate your daughters to do that. They will do it. But again, if you're a society that needs women to fight, then you're probably not a huge society. And if that's the case, then I would think that your first priority would be to grow your numbers. And to grow your numbers, you need women in the house and having babies and taking care of the kids.
Yeah, but still, I mean, if a horde's coming, like if you know that at any time the horde's going to come, of course, you would still have women to have babies and stuff like that. But my whole thing would be like, look, you can have babies and all that stuff, but if they come, just know, I would just lie. When they come, yeah, they're gonna rape you and kill you, blah blah blah. And then I think women would just fall in line.
So then the question becomes: Are women naturally inclined to fold, or are they inclined to being conditioned over their biology? In that instance, I don't know.
I think so. If you give a woman like crossbow poisons and stuff, poison tip arrows, and while you're fighting, like she like sneaks up behind them and like stabs with knives and shoots them with crossbows and stuff. I think women, there's something about women getting over on men and overpowering men. I think that naturally? Is just yeah. I mean, if let's say I'm fighting, right, and she comes up behind with the crossbow and shoots the guy, right, shoots the other guy, kills him. I think women like that, being able to overpower a man, no matter how they do it. If they stab him in the back or poison him or whatever. That's what I noticed about women.
So let's go back to our kingdom example. So let's say I'm the small kingdom. We have, let's say, 100,000. No, not even that many. Let's say 10,000 people. You're the larger kingdom. You have 1 million.
Yeah, Super G says women will fold.
Huh?
Super G says women will fold.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be easier, from my perspective as the smaller kingdom, to just marry and assimilate into your kingdom so we can build our numbers? Isn't that what they did?
What they've done before. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's what they've done before. But man, being women lust over power, and if you tell them that you can like poison some dude, like even sleep with some dude, poison them, they would love to do that. I think.
Would you hang your entire kingdom on women doing that though? At the end of the fall. You can only give me one answer, but listen.
Only if I can blame you, Mgtow Universe. I would have I would have you as a councilman. And if it goes wrong, I would blame you.
See, if I'm the small kingdom and if I'm at war with you, I would, for the survival of myself and my people, I would just find a way to find one of my daughters or one of my daughters to marry one of your sons to end the war. That's to me, that's the best way of doing it. Yeah, we'll probably lose our culture, but we get to live.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering how many cultures like have been erased, or rather, like their traditions and their ideas have been erased because they were married into another family to prevent war. I mean, I wonder.
I'm sure that happened plenty of times. I know that the elite in Europe were known for doing that, marrying off and doing that stuff. I bet there was someone who had my idea that did it in the past. Well, of course, they're dead now.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't hear about them. But my whole thing is I don't want to move forward if my culture is going to be erased and I'm going to be slaves and all that stuff. And I'm going to get killed because I'm a man. I figured you might as well go out with a blaze of glory.
But why go out in a blaze of glory when you go get killed and your culture is going to get erased anyways? The result is basically the same. The only difference is whether you live or you die.
Yeah. Because I mean, you see, like in Africa, for example, like Mauritania, where they just legalized slavery in 2007. So they've been living as slaves that whole time. It's like you might as well just have been dead, you know?
Slaves like in America kind of slaves, or
so the Islamists over there, they read some passages in the Quran that made it okay. So there's Africans over there that are enslaved right now to Muslims. Yeah,
that I did not know.
Like you might as well like if it was me, I'd have my kingdom. I would say, look at them. Women, grab your crossbow. Dudes, grab your arrows. I mean, your swords, whatever, because we do not want to be like them. If we die, we die.
Would that be your first choice, or would that be your first option? Would that be your last option?
That would be my only option, I think, because Because man, like if you look on those videos of those slaves, the living conditions, I'm like, nah, bro. Like they even have child slaves over there. I'm like, that's not gonna happen.
If the option, if assimilation means slavery, then yes, I agree with you. Even though I know that others would say that, well, hell, I'd rather be a slave than the death. I would, and that if that's the option, like if I marry off my daughter, but the rest of us have to be slaves, then we just have to die, or we have to run.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not going to be anyone's slave.
Unfortunately,
if that's what it's going to be.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Mauritania is close to Morocco, and he had the same problem. It's just a little bit better than Morocco, but they still have this lowly view of the Africans there. So that's the thing. Like, I mean, I don't know, man. Even kids, I would train the kids to be like little assassins too. You know, if I gotta die, everyone's gotta die. None of this war bride stuff. But then again, like we were talking about before, that's why you don't hear about.
Exactly.
You know,
we hear about war brides from the women, and the people that are still living. But for the women that chose not to be, they're gone. It's just the way it is.
Yeah,
not fair, but you know,
it's sad to know that a woman that you love so deeply, if they invaded like they did the Netherlands, that they would turn on you too. You know.
Yep.
You know, that's why I think I would just train them to be like, it's not about your love for me. It's about being the best woman that you can be. It's about being, you know, your soul's going to go, like, if you die in battle, your soul's going to go somewhere nice. You know, all that bullshit. I would feed their head with all that stuff.
So you would create a religion?
I would, whatever it takes.
If it works, then yeah. I think that's what BJ's what is he called? What do you call it? Amoral pragmatism.
Oh yeah.
Being the black pill, but yeah, that if it works, then sure. You got to do what you got to do to survive.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Do you think men, as a whole, how do I put this? Because I'm trying to. Okay, let's talk about this red pill thing.
Okay.
All right. So what I'm seeing is the PUA, Super G, I think mentioned it. There's a whole lot of PUA being rebranded as red pill, and it seems like men are really attracted to that. Why do you think that is?
I think those men still have hope for finding their Newalt. Discarding your need to reproduce and to cohabitate is one that, for me, at least for me, it took years to get over. So I understand like the struggle that a lot of men, probably even most Mgtows, go through, and that creates opportunities like for red pillars and stuff like that. Again, it's just another distract. That's how I say it. It's just another distraction, something else to get you to come back to the plantation. Yeah, you'll be smarter, but in the end, you still end up on the chopping block, so it doesn't matter.
How'd you get over it?
Huh?
Get over it.
Well, for me, I see. I'm thankful to have like the interest in computers and mathematics that I do. So it wasn't hard. Now, for the men that don't have something that they're really dedicated to, I honestly don't know. That's just something that men will have to discover on their own. Now, can men or most Mgtows, can they come to that discovery on their own? I think so. I don't know. I'm just thankful that I have the interest that I do, and for the guys that don't have them, man, I can only imagine it's going to be a struggle.
But there was no. They always say that most men are bitter, and they went through like this divorce. There was no woman or anything that happened that was tragic in your life that caused you to go that route.
No, not for me to become Mgtow. No, I actually discovered. So I've always been consider myself red pill in the classical sense now, not the new red pill sense, in terms of questioning who I am and the society I live in and stuff like that. So I became a Mgtow in 2012, but back, let's say 6 years prior to that, I came across a guy named Mark Rudolph, and he was questioning marriage and the legal system, and why are men paying for dates, and why are men buying women things for Valentine's Day? I would consider that red pill right there. And it's just, you get like these red pill a day YouTube videos, and of course you come across someone like Patrice O'Neill and Tom Likas and everything, and then you come across a Barbarossa. So it wasn't failed relationships didn't cause me to become Mgtow. It just made more sense, and an idea of me putting myself forward, that it's okay for a man to put himself first over a woman and a child, was something new to me that I had not heard anywhere, not even from Patrice, not from Tom Likas, not from anyone. So that's what attracted me to Mgtow.
But let's say there was no women or no children at all. Would you still be Mgtow? But like, let's say there's no women, there's no children, but society still expected you to go out and just get killed in battle or just work 70 hours a week. Would you still be Mgtow?
If there's no women and no children, good luck on trying to get men to do any of that. But would I do it? No. Unless there's a really good incentive to do it. And even then, probably not, because my interests are just too important to me. I'm not a person that's trying to find themselves. I've always known who I was. I've been a computer nerd my entire life. Okay. I don't need to discover, or I don't have a need to fight for God and country. I don't need to discover who I am. I don't need to find myself. I know who I am. So I'll probably in the end say no, regardless of their incentives. But then again, if they're talking about incentives, if they're selling honey over vinegar, okay, well, I'm listening.
Okay, all right. So you got Elijah Dushku in her dollhouse uniform. She's waiting for you. You want to take that?
Risk my life for a woman? No.
Okay, but self-discovery, right? Knowing who you are. As a young man, what would you tell other young men? Like, how would they go about doing that?
If you discover what you love in life, that's not involving pleasing other people. Do you have any interest? Do you have anything that any hobbies or anything? Something that you can go ahead.
Yeah, but how do you fight it? When you're young, right? The teachers are telling you need to be this way. Your parents are telling you you need to be this way. Like, how do you shift through all that nonsense and then discover who you are?
That's a good question. Mine's happened organically when I was 7 years old. Okay. When I first hopped onto a computer. So I don't know how to I don't know how to answer that question for other men. I would just say, if you have any hobbies or anything, then stick with that. I know that your need to procreate and to cohabitate with a woman and to be with a woman, I know that's strong, but try to find something that benefits you and to put yourself first. How, like, an actual steps on how to do that, I wouldn't know, because I'd never had that problem on finding out who I was or finding myself as a teenager or as an adult. I've always known who I was ever since I was a child. So I would not be the best person to ask that question.
Plus that was your own journey anyway. So I guess I understand that. But what about minimalism when it comes to being a Mgtow? What do you think about that?
Well, that's awesome. I mean, more money you have, or rather the more resources that you have to do whatever you want. That's awesome. I mean, if you want to live it up and splurge and everything, that's fine too. But minimalism for me is just cutting out the fat and having the mobility to do what you want when you want to, and not have to worry about having to do things that you don't want to do to try to get resources to be able to do what you want to do. So I love minimalism.
Beautiful. Okay. How long have you been a minimalist?
Let's say since 17.
Really?
No, let me take that back. Let me take that back. Let's say 22, because at 17 I had like 30 pairs of Jordans.
Oh no!
I was still in high school then, and yeah, I was a sneakerhead in high school. So around 22, I just stopped caring. Like I forgot what it was that day, but just like, what am I buying all this stuff for? It doesn't really matter. You don't need it to meet women, because women don't really care if you wear Jordans or not. They really don't.
Yeah, they don't.
So yeah, I just stopped buying. So I mean, I went to the club every now and then, but it wasn't too crazy. As far as video games, I didn't really buy that many video games either. Yeah, I just keep my costs low and be able to do whatever I want when I want to.
Well, I mean, that's a good point. Now, I have a question about travel. Now, there's this new movement where a lot of men are pushing other men to travel, go out there, see the world. What do you think about that? Do you think a man should travel?
Hashtag SYSBM.
Yeah.
Save yourself, black man. So my idea about that movement is that, it's just men, specifically black men, that still want to have families and they still want to get married, but they're trying to maximize their expectation, and they've come to the realization that Western women are not it. All right, so they're going to third world countries now. As I've always said, and as you've also maintained, that women are always going to be women. However, certain cultures and certain third world economic standards may put that hypergamy in check. So let's say in the Philippines, where last time I checked, divorce is illegal. You don't really have to worry about getting screwed, at least in terms of the divorce court there. But as I always say, men that are looking to go overseas should always understand that laws can always change for the worse. And as long as women voting, that it eventually will, in my opinion. So there's that.
Yeah, the thing is with that is my grandmother from the Caribbean, right? She was evil to the core, but because of the society that she lived in, she couldn't get divorced really. It was looked down upon. And that's the thing I see about men that go overseas. Even though it may be with a woman who doesn't want to get divorced, she may cook and clean. It doesn't stop her from being evil. And I think a lot of men have a misconception when it comes to that. But
so in the Caribbean, the Caribbean, wherever you're referring to, is it okay for men to discipline their wives?
Yeah. You can't talk back. Like this whole thing about talking back and stuff like that. Yeah, they don't deal with that over there.
So who'd you say? Was it your grandmother?
It was my grandmother. However, but check this out. My grandmother passed down those, like Black Ram likes to call the succubus. Yeah. She passed down those succubus tendencies to her family. So it doesn't necessarily stop them from being destructive, Yeah.
Even when they're being disciplined?
Yeah, because what happens is they're still influential. So as the man can discipline the woman. So what happened with my grandfather? He was with her. He married her, but he was a politician, so he's always out and about, right?
Yeah.
So she was basically kind of like a single mother. So she passed down those single mother tendencies that generally are negative. And then if you look at my the other side of my family, who was raised basically by a strong male figure, it's totally different. Like the women they cook, they clean, but they're nicer. They're not manipulative. They're not as bad. However, they still have those female tendencies, but you would rather want to marry the women on that side of the family as opposed to my grandmother's side of the family.
Right.
So I got to see both sides. So yeah, I mean, everything single motherhood, as far as like the self-sabotage, like the going off on kids, being, being a disciplinarian, or basically beating the kids and all this stuff, child abuse, all that stuff I saw from her. So, okay. And then you see it you saw it in her kids as well, like the female were like that. They were like that. They were very manipulative and abusive. And then for the males, even though they were very intelligent, they sabotaged themselves. You know, because you see that a lot of males that come from that type of household, they'll be bright, they'll have a PhD, but then their lives will be crap because they sabotage themselves because they get that from the mother.
What do you mean by sabotage themselves?
A lot of single mothers that I've noticed, when they're what they'll do is so they'll tell you need to read. I think I put it in a video or something. You need to read to become better at English and move ahead in your classes, right? So then you'll start doing that, and then she'll come by and then she'll say, you read too much, and then she'll hit you, right? And then she'll take the book. And you're like, what? But you told me I needed to read or whatever. So then you'll say, well, I'm going to go to the library, and then I'll study there. And then she'll make up some excuse to why you can't go to the library and study. And then when you come home and you bring home like a B or a C in English class, then she'll beat you again. So you can't win. So what happens is you take that type of mentality with you as you grow up. You'll go through college, you'll get good grades, you'll get your degree. But then when you're doing good in your life, you'll find some way to sabotage it. Kind of like reliving what your mom did to you. Like you'll save money, then you'll go and blow it at a casino or stuff like that. So you'll sabotage yourself, so you'll never be successful.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's when the father needs to.
That's where the father
needs to play some discipline in that instance so that doesn't happen. But yeah, that's crazy. Like if there's allowed to, like, that still happens if men are allowed to discipline their women. Is like if men don't get married to have children, like the Caribbean culture, is it like serious? Is it a possibility like they get disowned or something like that?
If men don't get married, no, it's more like there's actually I think they tend to cheat a little bit in the Caribbean because my grandfather, that's what he was doing. He was creeping while he was still married to the grandmother. But no, I think you don't necessarily have to get married, but the way the culture is, most likely you're going to find a wife. Most likely. Yeah. Most likely you're going to, in the Caribbean, you have this plan, and you'll see this when they come to the United States. When you come to the United States, this is what you're going to do. This is the plan. You get your master's degree. You're going to get your PhD. Your woman's going to be a nurse or something like that. You guys are going to have 2 kids. You're going to live in this type of house. They're going to go to this type of school. I mean, everything's like planned out. Right. So in the Caribbean, it's kind of like that too, which actually works in their favor.
Right.
Yeah. So that's generally how it goes. So even if you want to be like, my cousin was a cousin-in-law. He played cricket, and he messed around. He was telling me about like girls liked him. He was a sports player, but then he settled down. Right. He married my cousin. So that's how people are in the Caribbean for the most part. They'll end up getting married.
How does that culture look at men that decide to be a Mgtow or a bachelor?
I'm not sure, because like if you're on the island's so small, and you interact with people so much, like they know your family, they know who you are, that it's kind of like expected for you to kind of get married. Like if you're a guy who's like, I'm not doing that anymore, I'm not gonna go Mgtow or whatever. In the States, you could probably get away with it, but they're probably I don't know, you might get shamed a little bit. It's kind of weird. There's these expectations. Like when I went back, I saw my family, I felt those cultural expectations on my shoulder again, like this. You need to be doing this, you need to be doing that, you need to start this business. So I think that's what happens when you're in the Caribbean, man. Those cultural expectations kind of force you to, get married and have kids. I think you probably, like, even if you want to be a Mgtow, you're probably going to be like, oh, I don't want to be seen as some crazy person. Let me go ahead and get married. Or actually, I take that back. If you don't necessarily get married, at least have a girlfriend. Like my cousins here, they both have girlfriends, but they're not married, but they live a married life.
Right.
You know, so
okay.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Like they have. Go ahead.
I mean, but how about you? Because you said you have a single mother, right?
Yep.
How come? Let me ask you this, man. How come you didn't end up the Pookie Ray Ray? Like you said, you were Pookie Ray when you're younger, but how come you didn't go down that same path and end up like in jail and stuff?
I did.
But not for long, though. I mean,
no. I wasn't a Pookie and Ray Ray type of guy myself, but I hung around them. That's all I hung around because I lived in a hood. I mean, but the reason why I was different is my mother used to take me and my brother to the library 4 days a week. So we read. We will always had our head in the books. When we did go outside and play, which wasn't often when we were kids, she was very mindful of who we hung out with as a kid. As a teenager, when I was living with my grandmother, I only hung around one person. That was my best friend. I didn't really hang around too many randoms. I mean, there were some other guys that I consider friends, but they weren't killers. But like I said before, like if they needed a gun, they weren't too far from them, far from one. But yeah, as far as me getting into trouble, the things that I got in trouble for were white collar crime. So it wasn't like, your typical robbing people, beating people up and stuff like that. For me, my crime, because I always stayed in the computer. When I wasn't on the basketball court and when I wasn't playing the PlayStation, it was on the computer. So yeah, it is a miracle not getting caught up worse than what I did. I did a lot of stupid shit as a teenager. I'm thankful that I made it past 25 without being locked up in a penitentiary permanently. But a lot of guys that I know, they're either dead or locked up for a very long time, or they're on papers. And I throw child support in there because most guys get caught up. So yeah, I've gotten lucky, and my mother also made sure that I worked on my handwriting and made sure that we spoke well. Every now and then, a little bit of hood comes out of my voice, but normally, I would consider myself well spoken. She made sure of that.
Yeah, I mean, like when I saw your channel, I was like, what's funny is you're the type of guy I like to hang out around with when I was younger, right? Anna, probably watching animes and stuff together, right? Because I remember it was weird, man, coming over from the Caribbean. I liked all that stuff, man, like anime and all that stuff. But it seemed like around certain people, like you couldn't explore those options because you were always like looked down upon. You were seen as weird. You know what I mean? Like, oh, why do you talk like that? Why do you watch anime? Why do you like Star Trek? And you're like, oh man. But let me ask you this: when it comes to the Pookie and Ray Ray debate, right? Now, I'm 40 plus now. Isn't it about time that the Pookies and Ray Rays understand that acting a certain way is not going to get them anywhere in life? I mean, how much evidence do you need?
It comes back down to ego. They're not me. And also being a thug or acting like a thug, because most dudes in the hood are faking. They have the look, they have the voice, but when it all goes down, they're nowhere to be found. Not trying to rhyme there, but as far as them knowing better and them getting over it, that comes with wisdom, man, and wisdom usually comes with time. There's not many thugs you see in their 40s. Usually in their 30s is when, like, all right, I need to cut this shit out. I got a kid or two or three.
But it's all over the net and the TV. I mean, it's not a secret that you're going to end up going to jail, right? I mean, it's, it's blatantly obvious at this point. And even if you sell, let's say you sell drugs, right? You can't make that much money selling drugs anymore. So I just don't get it.
Well, yeah, I don't know about now, but back then,
I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't know, but
so back then, I sold weed for about a week. I was like 17, man. I was so damn paranoid because at that time I was working 2 jobs and I was just trying to save up as much money as I can to get a car. This is before the hurricanes of, what was it, 2003, and I was so paranoid. I thought, feds are surely going to come and knock my door down, and I'm going to jail for a long time because I had like an ounce. An ounce back then, you would have got a sales and delivery, and that's 3 years. At that time, it was. So I'm like, I was so paranoid and everything. So, yeah, having the image of a thug when you're more attractive to women, or at least the women who live around you. I guess you get some semblance of respect. I mean, you don't have to. I mean, you could just say that I'm a thug. Well, guys won't say that, but they have to look in everything just for the women, and women will flock to them. It is what it is. Even if you're a faker, you'll just have women.
Well, let's talk about it. So, let's say you're growing up in the hood, right? And there's not really too many opportunities. What would you do? What would you do to steer men in the right direction?
I think we had this talk before. In the hood, honestly, I would forget. In the hood, I would actually tell them to go into the armed services. I actually would.
Exactly.
Because telling them to get into math and to get into science, they're not into that because they weren't into it before. So to them, I would just sound like all their teachers and their parents. So I would just tell them, if you don't have a criminal record, because back then if you had a criminal record, you couldn't go in. Try to get into the armed services. Now this is assuming that quote unquote Pookie and Ray Ray is open to having their mind change, which most of them are not. They're sure of themselves. They have their ego. They ain't trying to hear that shit. But yeah, that's what I would recommend.
All right. Well, that leads me to segue with that dude that came on there.
So yeah, Mortify. He has his ideas. I don't know enough about the armed forces, but like I said before, to young men or to even young women also that are lost, they don't have any structure, they don't have a hope in the world, then yeah, I would hope that the armed services would give them some structure in their life to put their lives in the right track. I mean, the military is not perfect, but it's certainly better than running around the streets doing whatever.
Man, there's this job right now, right? So this is it kind of pisses me off when people talk about like the military. Like back in the day, okay, you had a pension, right? If you work for GM and all these companies, a paper factory, right? You had like this cool pension. But now that's gone. So the military pension, having been in the Air Force, which if you go into the Air Force and you do it right, it's a cakewalk. After 20 years retiring, making having like $3,000 coming in every month and free medical care. I mean, it's a no-brainer. Like, for example, there's a cybersecurity job right now in the Air Force, right? If you score high on the ASVAB, 90 plus, you take the training. If you get out with that job, it's 6 figures automatically. Now, if you do 20 years, you get out, you can become a security analyst or whatever. Do a location independent business, be a consultant. So you have the military pension coming in, and then you can work anywhere in the world being that security analyst. I mean, it's guaranteed success. I don't understand when I tell some men this and they don't get it.
Let me play devil's advocate. First and foremost, I have to spend 20 years in the armed services, right?
Yeah.
So that's not even the hard part. The hard part is going to be scoring high on the ASVAB, because if the people, the same people who I'm telling Ruki and Pookie and Ray Ray to go into the armed services, they're probably not that bright. So no, I'm just keeping it real. So that means that they're going to have to study their ass. I don't know about the ASVAB, but I'm assuming that they're going to have to study their asses off to be able to score that high. And then I'm asking them to spend 2 decades, almost a quarter of a century in the armed services. Now that's going to be a hard pill to swallow. Now I know, now for you it may not be, but I would imagine like to some people like, God, I got to score high on this test, and then I have to spend 20 years in the armed services. Man, that's a lot.
But here's the deal. I know every angle. So basically, let's say score high on the ASVAB. Like, I mean, how much is your life worth to you? Do you want to be a loser in the corporate world working at Jiffy Lube? Or do you want to be, I mean, no, I'm not talking about you. I'm just saying in general. But let's say you don't score high on the ASVAB. Here's the key. This is what you want to do. The key is, if you're going to score low on the ASVAB, you want to pick a job that's easy, that'll allow you to travel to as many bases overseas as possible, and will allow you to climb up the rank structure the fastest. That's the key. A lot of people think that they want to go in gung-ho, be on the front line of some battle. No, man. That's not what you want to do. Once you score high in the ASVAB, or if you don't, you want to get these 2 things if you can, or one of these 2 things. You want to get a secret security clearance or a top secret security clearance. Why do you want to do that? Just in case you get out, companies pay big money for these secret security clearances. If you have one of these secret security clearances, you're going to get a job over other people, and you'll get paid very well. So the key is, like I said before, go into the Air Force. They don't call it the Chair Force for nothing. You can travel around the world, save money, take the leadership courses to where you'll become a good leader amongst men, and then at 20 years, retire, live anywhere in the world that you want. It's guaranteed success. But I was talking to this other guy. He was explaining, like, he tells these young guys this, and they don't get it. Like 20 years, like let's say you do the other route, right? You go become an engineer or whatever. You fork out all that money, college, right? So now you have all this debt. And then you work at a company who doesn't care about you, doesn't have a pension plan. Chances are they're going to get rid of you before you get old. Now you have debt. Most likely you're going to get married. Most likely you're going to get divorced. You're going to be screwed. As opposed to going into the military, you're going to get your degree when you go into the military. Or if you go the officer route, they'll pay for your degree, and then you have to do 6 years as an officer. Do the 20 years. It'll be easy. You'll travel around the world. You'll have more freedom than you would in the corporate world, depending on which job you get. And then you have success. It's that easy.
Now, is the 6 years after the 20, or is that concurrent with the 20?
So if you want to do officer, become an officer or whatever, I think it's 6 years. So they'll pay for your college, so you won't have any debt. But then when you go in, you have to do 6 years. It's a 6-year commitment. But the thing is, what a lot of people do, they get out and then they go into the corporate world and they get paid a lot of money, right? 6 figures plus. But they don't have that pension. So they'll continue to work and work and work, tethered to that job, generally in a place that they don't really like. And then they don't like their lives, as opposed to being in the military. You do the 20 years, you get the pension, and then you go wherever you want. That's why when people are like, "Oh man, the military is," like, okay, you don't know what the hell you're talking about, bro. Had I done it the right way, I'd be retired at 39. I'm 41. So if you go in enlisted, you want to shoot for the E8, E9, which is Master Sergeant. If you go in you want to go 04. If you go 04, I think.
Oh, you're breaking up again.
And then, oh no, can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, I got you now.
Yeah, so it's $5,000 if you're doing officer as a major, 04, and then 05, I think it's like $6,000 a month coming in if you retire. And then if you're if you go in, if you're enlisted, like E8, E9, I think it's like $5,000 or something like that. But either way, that coming in every month for the rest of your life, I mean, it's a no-brainer.
Is there a law that says that when you get divorced, that your ex-wife can get your pension?
Yeah. That's the thing. Now that's another thing about the military. If you go into the military, do not get married, and do not. If you want to get married and have kids, do that at 40. Don't go in, because a lot of guys, they'll go in and their wives will tell them to get out because they're tired of traveling or whatever, right? And then they'll get out and then they'll get like some corporate job, and they'll realize that they missed out, or they'll get divorced and then they'll take their money. Like, just don't get married, man. Just travel, date if you have to, but don't get married. You'll come out ahead. I think it's the best option now. After they got rid of the pension on the outside of the corporate world, the military can't be beat. Just to put it in perspective, I'll tell you, when I went in, I was going to go back in reserves. There was this one dude. He was like a nurse or one of those things, and the military, the Air Force, paid for him to become a physician's assistant. Right? Paid for his courses. This is a military Air Force plan. So now he already has all that training as being a nurse or whatever that is. Now he's going to become a physician's assistant. When he gets out, he's going to be making buku bucks. Who else does that in the corporate world? Nobody.
Right.
I saw when your buddy, he sent me over to that documentary. I was watching that documentary. It was I had to laugh because it was so stupid. But this one guy in the documentary, he was just like, man, they didn't lie. They lied to me and this and that. And this dude was trying to be an aspiring rapper. I was like, oh my God. I was like, really? So you're trying to tell me that you would go in, you would pick a rapper over going in being a security analyst to where you would get out and make 6 figures a year? I mean, come on, man. Come on.
Some guys they don't want to be a square. They really don't want to be a square. I don't know why. Well, I do know why, but I see what you're saying. It is a great plan, but if Pookie and Ray Ray was just a long-term thinker like that, then they wouldn't be a Pookie and Ray Ray.
That's the thing. Like, people always say, okay, society's against you, which it is, like the racism and all that stuff, right? Which is true. But just imagine if a lot of those guys picked each one of the services, right? Air Force, Army, Marines, Navy, Coast Guard, all picked, went in, got the training, retired. How different would the community look?
So let me ask you this. So the Air Force is top notch, right?
Yeah, it's top notch.
Okay. Can you go in there with a criminal record, even as a minor?
You know what? Back in the day when my dad had a group home, I think the Marines and the Army were taking people if you had a criminal record.
Oh yeah, back in the 60s, they took anybody. 60s, 70s.
Yeah.
If you wanted to go there. Yeah. So I've heard stories of some judges would suspend a sentence if the men went into the armed services.
Yeah, so basically that's what they had with the group home kids. There were some of them you go in, and here's the thing about that. What's funny about the military is a lot of the thugs, the Pookies, Ray Rays, make the best leaders in the military. It's so weird.
Right.
And I think I talked about this before, and the reason is because they can see a lot of fuckery coming from a mile away. When people are trying to hustle them or whatever, they can see it. And they know how to, for lack of a better term, instill fear into certain men in order to get the job done. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it actually works out better for a lot of the guys.
So my understanding is that if you have a criminal record, you can't go.
I think the Air Force is different. I think the Air Force is like, nah. But it doesn't matter. Like my plan works for everybody. Like, let's say, there's this in the military, it's called services. Basically what you're doing is you're handing out towels at the gym, right?
Okay.
But you can go all over the world doing services. So if you score low on the ASVAB, or maybe if you have a criminal record in the Army or something like that, I mean, you'll be
But
running your ass off.
can you even get in with a criminal record?
I don't know if they changed it. They had it before.
Because I've heard also they also do like a credit check, which is, to me, that's crazy.
Yeah, they do that. They do that.
So if you're Pookie and Ray Ray and you're 19 and you've been to juvie and maybe you've done overnight in the county jail, then that option is cut off.
I don't know. I think it depends, because some of the guys in the group home, they did a whole bunch of stuff, man. And like they were, allowing them to come in. So you would have to talk to the recruiter. But yeah, I mean, some of the things that, stealing cars and, fights and stuff like that. And they got in. So, I mean, so not the Air Force, though. The Air Force.
I mean, I really do want to help out the Pookie and Ray Ray. So because when someone inevitably asks me, what about this situation? Like if I was 19, being sentenced to 6 months and doing 3.5 in the county jail, and I know my credit was shot back then, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be able to get in if that was a route that I wanted to take. I know this because I actually asked before, and then my mother found out. She says, "No way, Jose."
Oh, that you can't go in?
No, she did not want me to go in.
Why not?
But no, because I had a criminal record. That was back then. This is back in 2003.
That's another thing I noticed.
2002.
That's another thing I noticed. I noticed a lot of mothers try to keep. I don't know what they like. They try to keep their sons from going in or whatever. Like I said, if you have the right plan, they're going to come out ahead. So I don't understand. But they're always like,
I don't think the plan is what they're against. I think because they see like they don't want their son getting killed, even though if they was in running the streets, they're probably going to get killed anyways.
Traversal Mgtow said, "That's right. Traversal, you know what's up." No, I mean the thing is, yeah, you're going to get killed anyway. But the thing is, if you follow the plan, you're not going to be on the front lines. Like. If you score high in that ASVAB, they're not putting you on the front lines. And if you do services, you're going to be the front line handing out towels at the gym, but you're not going to be on the front lines shooting. You know what I mean?
Because you only have one chance at the ASVAB.
No, you can take as many times as you want.
Okay.
Yeah, but they'll take the highest score. So if you score high and then you do it again, you score lower, then they'll take the lower one. But the thing is, it's an easy test too. That's what gets me. Like I barely, studied, and I got pretty decent, so I went to electronics. So all you got to do is, when you score high on that ASVAB, get that list of jobs. Make sure you do not go in open contract. That's where a lot of guys mess up. The guys that hate the military are the guys that did that. A lot of them. What's open contract? Open contract is when you just sign the sheet and they just give you any job. Guess where you're going to go? To the front lines. So you have to pick the job that you want, and like supply is a good job. Basically, it's a warehousing job, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you can travel all over the world. So make sure you sign on that dotted line, right? Supply, right? And if you get that secret security clearance, that's all you need. Supply is an easy ass job, especially in the Air Force, right? Just ride it out. 20 years, like I said, you'll travel all over the world, Hawaii, Italy, wherever, and you'll be good to go. My buddy was in supply. He went to Germany. Because I was telling him about Germany, because I ended up going to Germany too. He went over to Germany, had a great time over in Germany. From Germany, he went to the Netherlands. He went all over Europe, and it was great, man. I met another one. He got out E8. He was stationed in like Spain. He told me I need to go to Spain. Spain for 7 years. My first shirt, he was stationed in Hawaii. He was stationed in Germany. He was stationed in Italy, all over the place. And he retired. So it's the smartest. It's the best bet, hands down.
Okay.
Well, but then people ask me, well, if you like this so much, like, why'd you get out? I'll tell you why I got out, because I was stupid. That's why. Because I was dumb. I didn't take my advice. I got out because I thought, like most of the other guys, that I could make a whole bunch of money in the corporate world, which I did. But without that pension, you're stuck tethered to that job. You don't really have the freedom,
Right. Okay. Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to rant, but
No, it's fine. No, because I like giving people options. Yeah, Traversable says they don't take people with felonies now. It's on the
they got rid of it, huh, Traversable? They got rid of it.
So, I mean, yeah, if you're talking about a teenager that has committed a felony and they don't have any credit, I guess they can go in.
Yeah, you're right. Training is expensive with Traversable. Sorry about that. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, if they don't have any, but that's the thing. If you're a young kid, like if you're in the hood and you're poor and whatever, I mean, come on, man. Like, you know where you're gonna end up. So if you have a slew of kids, there's 20 kids on the block. All the parents say, this is where you're gonna go. You're gonna go into the Air Force. You're gonna pick this job. Blah 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 blah. Those guys are gonna be successful. They can't. There's no way they can't. When they go in, they're gonna get their degree, right? This other dude, his plan, he has a plan to where you get your degree, you come out with your doctorate, right? No debt. If you follow the plan, you're going to be successful. I mean, when I talk to these people, I'm like, every other plan hasn't worked. So why go with those other plans? If you go with this plan, it works. It sets itself basically, you know, because the military is so regimented that you're going to be successful.
Okay.
They already got the leadership courses you have to take, right? They already have the testing you have to take. They already have the base housing that you go. They have the fitness in there for you. I mean, it's like turnkey.
Do they have prep classes for the SVAB?
I believe they do. I believe they do. I didn't take, but they do have like testing materials. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you can't go wrong. That's what I'm saying. Like, there's no excuse for a person not to score high because they have like the, you know, everything you need.
Right. Okay.
Oh, you going in?
Okay. No.
Oh, okay. All right.
I don't know. Even if I wanted to, I'm too old. I'm 30. I will be 35.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're not too old, but yeah, I hear what you're saying. Like,
and I have a felony. So,
yeah, I mean, you definitely want to go in when you're 18, 19.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. All right, man. We've been talking for a couple of hours.
All right. Yeah. That was good, man. Hey, I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. We definitely got to do this again, man.
Yeah, no flaking out.
No, I apologize. I don't even remember that, but I apologize, man.
Yeah, man. You know, we always have a good conversation. I really appreciate it, man. And yeah.
All right, man. I appreciate it, man.
I will talk to you later, sir.
All right.
Take care.
All right, you too.